I'm Annie.
And I'm Annie's grandma. You know, I'm not sorry at all that I was raised Amish.
Hmm.
In fact, I appreciate the experience that I had.
Good. So, can you tell us what was the transportation like?
Well, it was not fun. You always had to go wherever you went with the horse and buggy.
Why don't you both talk about, in Pennsylvania Dutch, what you've done so far today?
Hoe was du de Maya?
Ik ben to the village ingaan for coffee here.
Like I said, I'm Annie, and I'm an English teacher, and I'm lucky enough to be here with my grandma today to talk about her experience with the Amish lifestyle. I thought it could be good English listening practice, but also just a great way to learn about such a unique way of life.
Hi, I'm Annie's grandma, and I live in northern Indiana. And I grew up Amish until I was around 16 or a little later.
So I have some questions for my grandma, or as I like to call her, Nana. My first question is, what is the Amish lifestyle? Can you describe it?
Well, they're a very plain, it's a religion that they don't believe in cars, or they don't have electricity. It almost seems like they like to do the things the hard way. But
So would you describe it as a conservative way of life?
very conservative way of life.
Mm-hmm.
They have their own rules, have to live by that, or they are not. They would be excommunicated from that religion,
Mm-hmm.
from the Amish.
Could not be a part of the community anymore. Another thing I was going to ask is where a lot of the Amish are based in the U.S.
Oh, when I was growing up, it was mostly just like Indiana, Pennsylvania, Ohio, Kansas,
Oh, Kansas.
some in Oklahoma, just saying maybe around 10 states altogether. The largest groups were in Ohio, Pennsylvania, and Indiana.
Okay.
And
That's what I thought.
But now I've been told there's hardly any state in the United States that they don't have some Amish groups.
Wow. Yeah, I didn't know that they were in so many states across the U.S. And actually, I've been living and working in Madrid for a few years now. And I was talking to one of my classes about this. And a few people that they said that they found online that there's a community also in Sevilla, Spain. So I was surprised.
That's amazing. Now, I didn't know that.
Yeah, I did not know that either. So can you tell us, what was the transportation like?
Well, it was not fun living like that, because you always had to go wherever you went with the horse and buggy. Depending on where you were going, it took a long time. If you went like a distance that the horses couldn't travel that far, then you would hire a driver with a car, a non-Amish person with a car, and hire them to take you where you
Need to go.
going. There's drivers now that's how they make their living.
Right, by driving.
By driving.
And a lot of people still use the horse and buggy now, correct?
Oh yes, every Amish family has a horse and buggy.
Right.
Yeah.
There's so much to learn about the Amish, I think. In the traditional Amish lifestyle, what type of clothing is normal for men and for women?
Oh, well, you wore homemade dresses, of course, the women, and they had to be a certain style, and you couldn't put any buttons or anything on it. You had to close, wherever you had to fasten. Not with buttons. You had to use pins. We used straight pins.
There's a bee.
And so
So it's true, the women have to wear dresses, right?
yes.
Girls,
Oh, yeah,
women
you can't.
wear a
Yes.
dress, has to be a plain color, no buttons, you said.
Right.
Kind of a specific type of shoes.
Yeah, plain shoes. Now they wear flip-flops, and we were not allowed to do that at
Right.
that time.
Wow.
They just had to be plain black shoes.
And what about your hair as a woman?
When I was younger, in school and everything, I always had braided hair.
Braided hair.
Then I went to the Amish school. You wore coverings, and in the winter you had to wear bonnets when you put coats on.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, and
And what about the boys and the men?
the men, they had to wear just plain trousers. They called them, I forget now what they were called, but they didn't have like zippers or anything. And then
And when a man is married, what does he have to wear? You were telling me?
that too.
Okay. And
Now Rumspringa, they didn't. They would wear jeans. And the boys would. Not all of them.
Okay.
Just once they joined church, they couldn't.
Okay.
Once they were baptized, they had to have the Amish
So
pants.
normally you can get baptized with the church after Rumspringa is kind of ending. Is that right?
Yes. More or less, they have to have horse and buggies, no cars,
Right.
once they're baptized, and they had to dress plain.
Wow.
And if they didn't follow the rules, then they had to confess.
Yeah.
So then they'd be regular member again.
Right. How did you feel like during your childhood and teenage years about wearing Amish style clothes?
I didn't like it.
No?
No.
Oh.
I couldn't wait till I could, live like other people.
Kind of express yourself more
Yeah.
with your clothing.
Yeah.
Interesting. So what types of foods do you normally eat in the Amish community?
Well, they cook different than what we did when I was still at home because we didn't have access to all of the types of foods. But when I was at home, it was like a lot of starchy things. Mashed potatoes, noodles, that type of thing.
Those types of things. Nice.
Yeah.
I love Amish noodles, that's for sure.
Yeah.
So during your Amish childhood, what was your schooling like?
Well, we were fortunate enough to live in a area where there was not a one-room Amish school. And so we went to a regular, school.
Right. With children that were not Amish.
With
correct?
children, and when I was in my first grade through the fifth, I was always the only Amish one in my class.
Wow, the only Amish one. How did that feel at the time?
Being at that age, I guess it didn't bother. I didn't think that much about it. I did feel different, from the others, but they accepted me.
Yeah.
And
Good.
I had good friends, and I learned a lot
Yeah,
in those schools.
I'm sure. Nice. When did you finish school?
Well, then we moved, and we moved to my dad's home place where he was born. And that was right in the middle of the Amish community,
Oh,
where just a mile away there was a one-room schoolhouse, Amish schoolhouse. So we had to go there.
Huh.
And I went there until I was 16. At that time, you had to go till you were 16.
Okay.
But they only had the grades to 8th grade. And then I did the 7th and 8th, and I was only 15, so I had to take the 8th again because I had to go till I was 16.
Wow. Yeah. So you repeated
And
it.
I don't mean to bash, the Amish schools and stuff, but at that time, we did not have an Amish teacher. And he really shouldn't have been teaching school. He was an old man. And he would sleep during class. It was not a good experience at all.
Yeah.
I didn't feel like I learned anything there.
Yeah. That would be hard.
Very little.
Yeah. I'm glad you
And
went to the other schools then when you were younger.
Thank God I did.
Yeah.
I had that experience.
Exactly.
I guess I knew from the time I was pretty young that I didn't want to stay Amish.
Stay with the Amish, yeah. And isn't it true that, so you had 7 siblings, 7 brothers and sisters?
There were 9 of us.
9 total.
But my oldest brother, Daniel, when he was 6, died of a brain tumor. So I wasn't born yet.
So
awful. I never knew Daniel, but then there was Mary, my oldest sister, and Elmer, and then Pete. Perry was his name. No, Lizzie Mae, but we always called her Liz. And then Pete, which his name was actually Perry. Then it was myself, and then it was Ada and Katie, which were twin sisters, and then my youngest brother, Chris.
Wow.
He's the only Amish one now.
That's what I was going to ask you is, out of all of your siblings, how many stayed with the Amish community and how many left?
It was half and half.
Half and half. So, Nana, I also want to know, what were some of the most important life lessons that you learned from the Amish lifestyle that maybe you wouldn't have learned without the Amish lifestyle?
Well, I know I wouldn't know anything about farming. They just don't, have farms like they used to then. Just responsibilities. We had our daily responsibilities. And
in the times that our family has kind of gone together to visit some of your Amish relatives or cousins or whoever they may be, I kind of think that there's something to be said for, let's say the non-material lifestyle that they live, and like you said, farming, more connected with the earth, more living in the moment without using technology and things like that, living in the present. I think there's something to be said for that too.
Oh yes, they're admired for that, for their helping each other. If someone needs help, they have the community comes in and is very helpful, and they look out for each other.
Right.
I'm not sorry at all that I was raised Amish. In fact, I appreciate the experience that I had.
Good.
Doing that, I know I wouldn't. I didn't see it that way at the time.
Yeah.
But now I look back and I think we had lots of fun.
Yeah, another one of my questions was about a memory that sticks out to you from your childhood. And I think there was one with a pony that you've told me, right?
Yes.
A memory with a pony?
Oh, yeah.
What was
there's
that?
Lots of memories with the pony. I saddled that pony up about every day and go riding. And
Wow.
And one day we had like a country store just a mile away, and Mom needed some potatoes, and because we didn't have any left anymore. And so she asked me to ride the pony up there to the store and get it. So I did. And it was, the potatoes were like in a mesh bag. Well, this bag had a hole in it, which I didn't know. And I fastened it on the saddle horn. And I was headed home and got almost home, and I saw where I was losing potatoes through this hole. So I had to go back and pick up these potatoes.
And you had no potatoes left.
Yeah, I had. There were still potatoes in the bag, but not nearly the amount that were before that happened.
Oh no! And what did your mom say about that?
Well, they just kind of. It was a big joke after that. That's how I had to go and pick up the potatoes.
Not every kid has a pony, I guess.
No, and I was the only one in the family that liked to ride the pony that much.
Oh.
So.
I want to talk a little more about Rumspringa, which was the period of time after you turn 16 and you can date and, dress a little differently, do other things. Rumspringa sounds like a different language. Can you tell us what the language is spoken in the Amish community?
It's called, I guess, Pennsylvania Dutch is what we called it.
Mm-hmm. So there's a whole different language in the Amish community, Pennsylvania Dutch.
They have their own dialect, would you say?
Dialect, I would call it a language because it's not necessarily, it's similar to maybe German or Dutch.
Right.
But it's a different language. And I think this is fascinating because I love languages. And I always like to hear Nana, my grandma, and my grandpa, her husband, speak Pennsylvania Dutch together. Yeah. But you guys speak English together at home.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
But you both can speak Pennsylvania Dutch.
And we did not teach our children our daughter and son, we did not, which is Annie's mom, we did not teach them how to speak
Pennsylvania Dutch.
Pennsylvania Dutch.
Yeah. So I'm wondering if you can translate a few things to Pennsylvania Dutch too. Do you want to do
Sure.
that? Okay.
Sure.
So how would you say in Pennsylvania Dutch, how are you?
Wie bist du?
Wie bist du? Sounds kind of like German, I think.
Yeah.
How would you say, what's your name?
Was ist dein Name?
Oh, was ist dein Name? I didn't know that one. Let me think. How would you say, how old are you?
Wie alt bist du?
Oh, nice. I like that. How would you say, I'm hungry?
Ich bin hungrig.
Oh. So you kind of have that sound, which sort of exists in Dutch, I believe, from the Netherlands.
Right.
So that was, ich bin hungrig.
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 Yeah.
And also, you spoke this language before you learned English, correct?
Yes. Oh, yes.
Wow. That's amazing. And so did Pops, my grandpa, yeah?
Yeah.
He learned it too.
He didn't grow up Amish. I mean, they weren't Amish. His parents weren't Amish when he grew up or when he was born. But they grew up Amish.
Right.
So
Should we see if Pops is in there and wants to speak some Pennsylvania
you
Dutch?
can ask him.
Let me see.
No, it's really nice out here. It is. Why don't you sit down and...
Yeah.
Ooh, this is messing my hair up. I can't be down here. I'm Andy's
No, you have to hold that.
I'm Andy's grandpa.
Why don't you both talk about, in Pennsylvania Dutch, what you've done so far today? Have a little conversation for us.
Wo warst du, de Maya?
Ik dolle to the village ingaan for koffie gereden.
Huis van kat?
Not really.
Wat? En die hebben...
Tot Jean won that dot.
Wat dan net?
Wees net vol, flight is er gaan probeeren Marley dat ik ja fix zelfs.
Oh, ja.
Welsken.
Ja.
Zie Welsken.
Ja, zie
Ja, het zal goed zijn.
Let me ask you if you can translate a couple of things into Pennsylvania Dutch. Can you translate, that's a tall tree?
Dat is een grote boom.
Oh. How about, there are a lot of flowers back here.
Ja, en een laat bloemen.
Bloemen.
Ik moest ze wasseren. Wasser, met wasser.
To me, and I don't know if some non-native speakers of English would agree, but to me, it sounds kind of like the sounds of English, Pennsylvania Dutch, but it almost sounds like a mix of German and English sounding. But of course, I can't understand what they're saying.
It's all mixed together because I'm not real fluent in talking
Pretty fluent.
Pennsylvania Dutch.
Because you only spoke Pennsylvania Dutch mostly until age, what, five or?
You're fluent.
5 or 6.
I'd say you're fluent.
Yeah.
But not...
English comes
Comfortable.
easier.
Yeah, of course.
About the first thing I remember as a kid was in Ohio. My folks had already left the Amish,
Okay.
moved to Oregon, spent about 3 years in Oregon, picked hops. Dad tried to farm the side of a mountain, and it was so steep that the plow would fall over.
Wow.
Mom would look out the window and he'd be trying to set the plow up again. But they finally left Oregon and moved to Plain City, Ohio. Dad took a job. They got a house, rented a house, was included in the deal. They had a house to live in, and he got $20 a week.
$20 a week.
$20 a week.
A little different than today.
Much different than today.
Oh my gosh. So one thing we have that I think is very interesting is this book right here. Nana, can you tell us a little bit about this book?
So it lists all of the descendants of this couple, which included my great-grandparents, I suppose.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. I mean, many generations, right?
Yes.
Of Amish families.
So they have every family, when they put this book together, they make the head of every family fill out a form, with all of the information they need, and they put the families in here and their years they were born and when they got married and when they were deceased and stuff. So it gives you all the information way back.
Yeah, my understanding is that this is like an Amish tradition, right? Where you
Not
record all of these.
every family does that, but a lot of them do. Majority of them, maybe.
To record
Yeah,
generations and generations of the
Exactly.
family. I
Exactly.
think it's amazing.
I use these books because there's a book also of his family like that,
Yeah.
and so I use those books a lot to get information on dates and stuff like that.
It's very interesting, very amazing to me. So, Nana and Pops, can I also ask you how old you were when you met each other?
Well, I was 19, was I? 20.
Was I out of the Army already? Then I was 21.
You were?
Yeah.
And I was 20
Yep.
when I met him.
And she started chasing me.
No, I didn't. He was chasing me.
So thank you both so much for talking with us about the Amish way of life. It's been super special. And if you have any other questions on there and you want to leave some comments to ask more questions about the Amish lifestyle, about their memories, things like that, just let us know and maybe we can do another video. We'll see.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. So
Bye.
long.